From Mr. Griffith. He was the first Minister of Energy in Barbados, and he is currently a consultant to the Ministry of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship. He has 40 years of experience in management, marketing, institutional development, entrepreneurial and skills development, business organization, training and consulting. As a former diplomat, cabinet minister and advisor to the Prime Minister of Barbados, he was involved in activities dealing with top-level policymakers in other governments and interacting with other heads of states and governments. He represented the government of Barbados at several international conferences, including the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Commonwealth Finance Ministers. Also, he served as a consultant to both the United and Commonwealth Finance Ministers, also served as a consultant to both the United States and Canadian governments and on private sector development in the Eastern Caribbean. And he has worked in several political campaigns, both in New York and in Barbados. Now, with such a glowing summary of his achievements, you will understand that he brings to us this morning a wealth of knowledge and skills and experience and expertise to be able to deliver on this worthwhile topic this morning on renewable energy. So I want you to be attentive, and I want you also to be engaging as he facilitates this section, and we're going to have a question and answer segment at the end. Again, just some housekeeping matters, to keep your mics off until you are speaking, answering a question, making a comment, and I need to know who is on the call. So in a case where you would just have your first name, like for instance, I might have more than one Tiana in cohort 1 and 2, so I would need to know who is on this morning. Which Tiana? I see the others have already changed and put on their last names. Hajai, I think you're Hajai Yearwood, but I'm subject to correction. So it just says Hajai's Galaxy A20S, so if you can change that. And then we have a Galaxy J7 Star. I don't know who that is, so you will have to either place it in the chat, accompany it that new Galaxy J7 Star and your particular name, so that we can account for those persons who would have been on the call this morning. So we'll pass it on over to you now, Mr. Booker.
Hi, good morning to all. Welcome. Melissa, I want to thank you for your patience and your professional approach, which is exciting and admirable that you're able. This is the 4th session we've had, and I'm very, very happy to see that we have someone like you who've gone through this 4th session. And all I want to do is, as a former teacher, I would like to be able to make it as exciting as possible and as knowledgeable as possible, because at the end of the day, it is about you, the students, about us as Barbadians, who must of necessity embrace this energy situation, because it impacts on all of us. I want to say, before I start, I want to say only last night we heard about the price, again an increase in the price of gasoline and diesel. And the first thing that people react to is that the price is changing, and we can't do anything about it. Certainly we can't, because as you may appreciate, that's one of what I call the external shocks that we as Barbadians face. An external shock really relates to the fact that these decisions, in spite of what we may feel, those external shocks impact on us, and we can't do anything about them. Henceforth, it is important that we as Barbadians and as Caribbean people look to the point where we can say there's some factor in this energy situation that we can control. And we proved it back in 1981. I've been in this thing now for 40 years. And I keep arguing that is one of the most important, if not the most important element in the economic life of Barbadians. On the teaching side, I believe that it is important that we spend time raising the level of awareness. So when I was approached by the government to get involved again, I wanted to see how we're going to make sense of this, reaching this target of 100% by 2030. It is a meaningful target. It means that if we can succeed in reducing our dependence on international fossil fuel, it will do many things. For one thing, it will make us more reliant on the sun and the wind and conservation techniques, and indeed on energy efficiency techniques, which will help us reach that goal of 100% by 2030. The other thing is this, that with all the talk about climate change, you will find yourselves, in effect, recognizing that with the climate change issue, which is now international and attracting a lot of discussion, that we have some very bad weather that the scientists and the experts are saying come about because of climate change. And every time I hear that a hurricane is or bad weather is heading towards Barbados, I worry about what can happen if we do not do our part to control the bad weather. We are small countries, we do not do much damage in the environment, but we need to be able to do our share. It may be a drop in the bucket, but it is our share, and collectively our drop in the bucket can turn out to be an avalanche which will help us all. When I was approached by the ministry, I told them I need to bring education on energy conservation and energy efficiency, because I want you to appreciate that energy conservation and energy efficiency starts with all of us. Starts with you, with me, with Melissa, with everybody. It's our job to ensure that we conserve energy. So this presentation is a guide to how we can get on top of energy conservation. And the first crisis in 1973 highlighted the vulnerability. I don't think that many of you were born at that time, but those of us who were around, experienced some serious problems related to the shortage of gasoline, long lines. I was living in New York at the time, and I know people breaking the line and getting shot because it was a terrible period. And oil was $1 a barrel, $1 a barrel. After that first problem in 1973, which had nothing to do with Barbados, we had to take what was taking place. And, it jumped to $2 a barrel, and we had to live with that. It generated inflation in our country that we could not do anything about because we were importing the high price. Then in 1979, another external shock. The Shah of Iran was deposed. There was a revolution in Iran, creating an international oil shortage, and the price shot up. I don't know if any of you have done anything looking at the law of demand, but the law of demand says that the minute that you have a demand higher than the supply of a particular product or process, that the price will go up. This is what's happening now with the containers across the world, causing an increase in prices of shipping because the law of demand is taking effect. But in 1981, then Prime Minister Tom Adams decided we have to do something about reducing our vulnerability to the international pressures occasioned by those outside of our environment. And I was appointed to oversee that introduction of renewable energy, and we had some objectives we set. We had to decide whether or not we can continue to be vulnerable to the decision-making process by others that we don't know, we don't see their faces, we don't know anything about, we don't speak their language, none of that. But we had to deal with that. The associated foreign exchange costs related to oil imports. Currently, only a few years ago, we were paying $800 million a year to import products so that you could drive, so you can have electricity, so that you can use your appliances and so on. And then, of course, the impact of environmental damage, which is now we know occasioned by the use of dirty fossil fuel and its byproducts. We introduced the concept of renewable energy, and I was given ministerial responsibility quite happily for dealing with these situations. So in 3 years, we increased oil production because we were all producing a little bit of our oil. Then we introduced energy conservation and energy efficiency manners, and the public responded very well. The economy saved $40 million in foreign exchange, and we created 165 jobs. So we are convinced that this approach will work. The governments after that, in 1985, right down, dropped the ball, and we went back to the bad habit of driving wherever we want, using a lot of gasoline, using electricity as we want, because the ball was dropped. The current administration in 2018 said, no, we must have a target of 100% renewable energy by 2030. So here we are. So we have to look at what, we talk about alternative energy and what it means. You mean retrofitting of renewable energy systems, energy conservation and energy efficiency, looking at wind energy and conversion from waste. I don't want to put you all into all those things. All I'm interested in right now in these sessions is to encourage you to look at how we can conserve energy and be efficient about what we do without losing the impact of our lifestyle. And we can do it if we listen and learn and decide that we can adapt to what is necessary. So I just want briefly to run through some of the things that we must do, which would help all of us. So my responsibility is to raising public awareness in energy conservation and energy efficiency across Barbados. Now, this implies very strongly the whole issue of behavior modification. How do we change our behavior? And it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen if we take the steps necessary to change our behavior in the use of energy in every aspect of our lives where the use of fossil fuel generated electricity is concerned. We must get in the habit of acting on information which will help reduce the carbon footprint. The carbon footprint is that dirty footprint which is caused by using imported fossil fuel. And if we collaborate, we can attain these objectives. Just give some thought to how you can reduce your electricity bill. Some people complain when they get the bill, but they don't understand what the import of the bill is. Most people just look at the price, what they have to pay to light and power. But look at the components involved in paying light and power, and then in that electricity bill, and then you can appreciate how you can manage to reduce that electricity cost. If you say, okay, I'm going to set a target of 10% in my house, that we're going to reduce electricity by 10%, electricity use by 10%. How do you accomplish this? You know, first thing, look at the involvement of all in the household. Sit down and discuss this with your family. If you're by yourself, of course, you can't discuss it with the family, but you have to talk to somebody who's knowledgeable of this. Now, in the management of the household, and this is something that we are losing the ability to deal with, we have to look at designating people in the home, children, giving them certain responsibility about how to cut back on the use of electricity. Offer rewards and incentives within the household so that everybody in the house has a certain responsibility to help cut back on that. And you can provide an incentive to them, whatever your pocket can bear, but you're saving money now, so you can provide some incentive. Keeping track of activity, make sure you do it all of the time, day by day, and giving responsibility to each person in the house, and see how we can get to win this battle, wrestle this whole cost of electricity to the ground. Let me give you the example. At Griffith, the university used to wastes a lot of energy, a lot of electricity, using air conditioned lighting. I used to teach there. I know at night when I leave, air conditioning is going on in the room still. And the school took a decision in 2014 that we're going to reduce our cost of electricity to the university by 50% by 2026. That's a big target. 50% by 2026. And they're put in charge a very senior project officer called Natasha Calder. I consulted with her about their approach. She could not give me the internal details because the document is an internal document. But she told me this, that they employ all staff in the chain, from managers to gardeners, and have so far seen results. Since 2014, they've saved $4 million. $4 million is not money that you can sneeze at. It's very important that we look at how we can save that kind of money in our economic environment, given the difficult times we face thanks to COVID-19. And what you need to do is to look at the components of the house appliances that cost every household in Barbados, where we have a home full of appliances, whether it's the coffee maker, the toaster, the microwave, the washing machine, the vacuum cleaner, you name it, the home air conditioner. All of these things are running the cost money. How do we manage to cut back the use of these things without using the comfort? The kind of bulbs we use in the house, LEDs have a lifespan, the LED bulb, and we have been seeing work done by Caribbean LED and the Ministry of Energy on how to get to retrofitting so that LEDs can be used by the country. We're even talking about using LEDs in street lights. But that's something that you can look at and decide, hey, we can use LEDs in our household, invest in them. They will reduce our maintenance costs, and they will lower long-term operating costs, not only for individuals, but for businesses. Look at the refrigerator and see whether or not the refrigerator is operating effectively. You can turn the refrigerator to its lowest setting. You know, we go into the fridge and open the fridge door and stand there wondering what we want with the fridge. Then we should know. And then when you're at the fridge door, take out all you need at the same time. That saves energy. That saves energy. If you have a no frost fridge, then you have to look at frost buildup and try to make sure. If you look at the clothes dryer, some of us like to think that is a status, but you look at the clothes dryer if you have one, or you know, then you let the sun dry the loads. You save the dryer for when the rain is falling. Washing machines, you should load the machine up, fill it up, and try wherever possible to use top-down instead of side-door machines. Top-down machines are research so that you can save money. There's something that I want to stress on called phantom power, because all of us may be guilty of using phantom power. You know, phantom power results from the fact that we use office or home energy as consumed. It is consumed by that TV set, that computer, those devices, and when we stop using them in the house, we somehow believe that we stop using power. But that's not true. You know, studies have shown that there's an estimated use of 75% of the electricity used while they're turned off. So you need to think of phantom power as a big cost in your house and follow suit. Look at the air conditioning you're using if you have air conditioning. All of us may not have air conditioning at home. I don't use air conditioning, you know, because it's a cost if we continue using air conditioning without managing how we use it. An improper air conditioning unit can cost you money. You don't need that. Bring in a technician to look at the air conditioning unit and make sure that it's working efficiently. So I wanted you to look at this checklist on conservation. As I said before, avoid doing unnecessary things in the house. Avoid opening the oven unnecessarily. Use a toaster rather than an oven for making toast. Toaster uses less energy. Use cooking utensils with tight fitting lids. This will aid in maintaining the internal temperature longer and reduce the amount of energy that we require to cook. You have a stove, you fit the pan to the right size burner. Doing this increases the efficiency, it reduces the cooking time. Other conservation measures: turn the heat down after the liquid has come to the boil. This simply reduces the amount of energy used. As I said before, take all you need out of the refrigerator. Avoid heavy frost buildup. Defrost regularly. That does not cost you money. Defrosting does not cost you time, but not cost you money. It saves you money. And that's what we are talking about: saving money in a household, especially at these difficult times. We need to save every penny we can get. I've gone through the issue with the machine already, and son, I don't want to go through that again. I think that you need just to be reminded. Ironing clothes, be in the house, the TV set is on, and we are not in the room watching TV. You should not be doing that. Turn off the TV when no one is watching. Radios, CDs, cassette players should not play at an empty room. And we're guilty of that. We need to have dimmer switches that provide energy savings. As I said, LED. Turn off lights and fans when not in use. Even when you believe you're using the room for a few minutes. Get the most of your security lighting, because you have foliage around the house and it obstructs light, you have to worry about that. Again, check all these things I said repetitively. On the refrigerator, the gasket. Just call a technician in and have that fixed. You may get somebody to do it for free, or you may get somebody who do it for $2, but it saves you in the long run. Now, in the solar water heating system, the solar thermal system is the one which provides hot water heating. Every solar thermal system should have an electric heater, but you should not use electric heater because your water is not heating fast enough or hot enough. Electric water heater system costs a lot of money. Electric water heaters are and I would like to see them not being imported in Barbados, but electric heater for the solar water heating is also a costly process. Avoid using it. You've got power strips in the house. I have several power strips in my house, and I got TV on a power strip. You should turn off the power strip, then you couldn't not in use, or plug them out. TVs and DVDs in standby mode still use several watts of power. In the average home, 75% of the electricity used to power home electronics is consumed while the products are turned off. Desktop computers. Everything that uses electricity in your home, you should be able to say, okay, I can save on this. But we need to change. I can't stress this enough. We need to change behavior if we are to succeed. If we change behavior, we're going to save money, we're going to save the country importing more fuel than it's needed, and we're going to be able to help our own neighbors, friends, monitors. I can't seem to get anybody to tell me whether the buying an energy monitor is a tax event, which would mean that an energy monitor really can tell you how much you're using on every particular appliance that you have in your household. It's very important to know the importance of energy monitors, because if you want to put in photovoltaic systems, that installer may come and tell you you need 5 kilowatts. Then you may not need 5 kilowatts. And I've known that to happen. People are vulnerable, and you can't rely on the installer to tell you how much you need. You should know what in your house what you need. And I've had to troubleshoot with people already who found themselves being caught up in having installations for more than 5 kilowatts when they did not need them. I want to thank you. I hope that you got something out of this. I'm always putting my best effort forward. I'm always researching. Me and my technical right-hand man, Rodney Greenwich, we're always looking at ways and means to make this more efficient and exciting. And I would invite you now to ask questions. I threw some things in there that would raise your eyebrows and raise your interest. And I want to know if any of you have picked up some of the stuff that we have put out there. And Melissa, again, I want to thank you. I would like to invite people to question some of the presentations I made. I know you know a lot. This is your fourth, so I'm sure you're practicing some of the things that we talk about. But I don't know how many other people are practicing stuff that we're supposed to be doing.